So the extremely popular podcast, started between Trisha Paytas and Ethan Klein, Frenemies, has come to an abrupt ending after a fight both of them had in the last episode. The argument started when Trisha Paytas started talking about trans and gay rights.
Heath Ledger, Jake Gyllenhaal said Heath Ledger refused to make like gay jokes about it, like during the Oscars, and I don't know.
Is there a third pizza?
You're so not good about this. Okay, let's go to your stupid.
Make sure that
I don't like
pizza.
this segment. Just for the record, fan advice is a stupid segment.
Why?
But we can do it. It's so dumb. What's the point?
Okay, well, what, you want to talk more about what, Brokeback Mountain, a movie from fucking like 10 years ago?
It's like a lazy podcast. Like, we're going to play games on the, like, you know.
A lazy podcast. You don't do anything for it. You just show up. We do all the work.
Oh my God, yeah, right.
How am I wrong?
With what? I always contribute. You never have, like, first of all, when you were doing all the podcasts, it was like Keemstar, Jake Paul, like, and everyone's like, we're so sick of hearing about this because it's everything. Like, I saw on this, you had stuff from last H3. You just recycle H3 content on Frenemies. We spent one Frenemies rehashing all the stuff you said about Keemstar on H3 Live, which was 2 days prior.
Okay, it happened one time.
No, it's happened before where you just like bring up stuff that you've already mentioned, like, and it's fine. But
why are you attacking me?
You asked me, you said, tell me, and I'm telling you, like, just because you guys come up with everything doesn't mean it's good. It's recycled, a lot of it. So,
sometimes I forget what I've talked about, honestly.
But you're saying you have all this crew that does all this work for you, and nobody could remember that you talked about that 2 days prior?
I agree. Somebody should have said something. But I feel like you're so angry about this.
I'm literally not, but it's just so funny.
Are.
I'm not. I'm angry when you say something.
You need to admit when you're angry.
Ethan, I promise you, this is really is gaslighting. I go to a lot of therapy right now, and this really is. When I say I'm not angry, I'm not. It is like frustrating when you think you do all this work and like think, oh, we're doing all this great stuff, and it's like not that great. I don't get input on like people we hire, like all this stuff like that. I don't get
people we hire. Why would I ask you about people I hire?
Because it's Frenemies and you take the budget for paying the crew. That's what you told me. You take highlights, you take 5% to pay the crew. No, so why don't I get any input on the crew or what we do?
These are employees of our
So why are you taking highlights and 5% of Frenemies? You told me that it was to pay them, that they could be working
for production costs. And I feel like you're gaslighting me, to be honest, saying that you're not like frustrated about
that.
But
I'm not.
Because it really is a source of like every time something comes up where it's like, I hired somebody or this, that, and like, oh, you don't do that much on the show.
I'm bringing attention to it. I'm not upset. I would text you. I would tell you if I was.
It always comes down to, you get this extra 5%. And so
because you're saying, why should I get an input on the employees? That's what you said. And
because
you brought up to me
they
that
don't just work on Frenemies, they're my employees.
Okay, but when I said that to you originally, you said, oh, we pay the employees. They could be working on other things. So why don't we have Frenemies employees and I get input if we're spending 5% of the budget towards them?
I think that's not what it is.
That's what you said.
So then that's. But I don't remember. But that's
gaslighting is telling someone how they feel, and you're telling me how I feel, and I'm telling you I don't feel frustrated or upset. So I don't know what else that could be. How am I gaslighting you by telling you I'm not feeling this way? How is that gaslighting you? I'm not feeling this way.
Okay.
I wouldn't show up. I wouldn't come here. I would,
You listen. You can be upset and not because you can be upset and then also not be like, I'm not showing up. Fuck you.
I'm
like
not
there's
upset.
levels.
If I was upset, I wouldn't show up.
I'm just explaining. I'm just because you can be upset and still show up.
But I'm not upset, and that's what gaslighting is. Because you're saying I'm gaslighting you by saying
you're not upset. You're perfectly. You're in a perfect condition right now.
Okay. Wow. Holy cow, that's crazy. I mean, I don't know how you. I just don't see what you just did. That's really.
What
crazy.
did I do?
We have to end it now. Like really.
What did I do?
We got to stop for real. Really. We need to stop.
Trisha, let me just say,
I'm sorry. Ethan, that you just did that. You're right. You're right. Nothing's wrong with you. But I go, you don't know how much therapy I go to a week. I go to 4 Zoom sessions a week.
No, I understand.
Ethan, what you just said was, you're right, Trisha. Everything's fine. That's insane. Like the fact that you did that to me is like insane.
It's not insane. We're friends. We're having a friendly conversation. I shouldn't have to walk on eggshells around everything I say.
All right, Ethan, I'm asking to end this. I'm asking
you. can leave anytime, Trisha.
But then you're making this thing where we're not ending the show and you get to sit here and be like, okay, well, that just happened and you're eating pizza and then
I will end the show the minute you walk off the frame.
All right, so let's just end it. Please.
So that's what was said. The original conversation between them is much longer, but I didn't want to take the full clip. So if you want to view the full conversation, I will leave a timestamped link to it in the description below. Trisha Paytas also uploaded a video to her channel explaining more in depth why she left the podcast. It's pretty long, so I'm not going to show it here, but basically the core reason of why she is upset is that she wanted to build up Frenemies as its own independent thing, where Trisha gets to help choose the staff and make decisions for the show, rather than having the show under the wing of the H3 H3 podcast crew and having only all of Ethan's staff there. Because when she goes to the podcast, she feels like she's stepping in as a guest on Ethan's show and Ethan's production, rather than sharing everything with him equally and fostering an environment that is handcrafted by both Trisha and Ethan rather than just Ethan. But again, if you want to hear her thoughts more in depth, you can check out the video on her channel. For now, let's take a look at the Twitter reactions to this breakup. Luglug responds to the post by saying, "Honestly, I'd rather have her leave than her undermine the entire crew and complain about how much she doesn't care about money, while she simultaneously complains about money." Len responds, "Not her being a millionaire and living in a mansion with several luxury cars and complaining about a crew of people that live in apartments and make a fraction of what she does for 10 times as much work." Big Brother Bitch responds to H3 Podcast by saying, "Ethan, please recognize that Trisha has BPD and is obviously having a serious mental health episode right now. She needs therapy and support. And then I really think you guys can work it out, with peace and love." Sus AF responds, "He isn't an emotional punching bag. Trish has support and is in therapy. Stop blaming diva behavior on BPD." Raven responds to H3 Podcast by saying, "Every single podcast, Ethan just catering to her. She wants to do something, they get it for her. She wants rematch in whatever they play, she gets it. If you pay attention, Ethan is always walking on eggshells around her. Trisha has admitted that if it wasn't for H3, she wouldn't be where us is now. Me personally would have walked away a long time ago. As much as you try to help someone, it really gets exhausting." James responds to H3 Podcast by saying, "Seriously, even if Trisha's only talent, she's the show. You talk about being professional when referring to the Vlog Squad. Ethan, you dropped the ball in making a workplace where things feel equitable, and I expected more from you." Brooke responds to him by saying, "The only way Trisha would be happy is if she got 50% of everything, and Ethan paid out of pocket for all production costs. That's not reasonable. It's his channel, and he does the production. Trisha just shows up and talks. She said before Frenemies is fun money." Terrorizing Ethan Klein with pictures of the gazebos responds to Ethan Klein with a gazebo, to which Ethan responds, "A sad gazebo for a sad day." Speaking of Ethan, he made a tweet of his own that says, "Not sure what to do about the 4,000 Frenemies hoodies." Kiki responds to him by saying, "For real, man, please don't get too down on this. This is a textbook BPD reaction. Give it a while and some time apart. With BPD, we break the bonds that mean the most to us, because of a previous fear of abandonment. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy and self-sabotage." Lovely responds to her by saying, "So they can treat people however they want and are always supposed to be forgiven? I think it's best they just stop the podcast together." Kiki responds, "No one is saying that. I am explaining a common emotional reaction for someone with their disorder. It doesn't excuse behavior, nor does it justify it. It contextualizes it." Ash responds to Ethan by saying, "As someone with a psychotic disorder, I think you tweeting this is kinda messed up. People would still buy them if you sold them, and you could just take the L with if you don't want to sell them. I feel like if I was Trish, I'd feel guilty seeing this." Angel responds to Ethan by saying, "This is worse than my parents splitting, please don't end." Prince Khan responds to her by saying, "Bruh, it ain't that serious." To which Nikki responds, "Prince Khan, laughing my ass off, shut up bro." Shay responds to Ethan by saying, "Honestly, with all these negative comments towards Trisha, and you egging it on, and not fixing the issue is more of a reason for her to leave. She does have a point. She wants to be included in things. Why is that such a bad thing? It's not about money at all." Ethan further elaborates his feelings on the situation when he tweets out, "I am honestly gutted over this whole thing. Trisha's video this morning was a total surprise to me. I don't really know what more I can say or do. I'm very sorry to all the fans of Frenemies. I know how much it meant to everyone. I did everything I humanly could to save it." Meredith Grimm responds to Ethan by saying, "I think Trisha was 100% wrong for the way she acted in the episode, and I feel like today's video was an attempt to make her look like a victim when she was the one on the attack and gaslighting. I know people will drag me for that." Christina responds to Ethan by saying, "You need to either make a separate channel or somehow work it out so you guys are truly 50-50. Separate crew salaries that you both pay half of everything. Then you can spend money growing the show properly, and Trisha feels like she's actually important." J_J responds to Ethan by saying, "She has to understand that it is your production company. She has to understand she has no creative control or decisions. She doesn't understand she signed a contract. Ethan, it's a control thing. She needs to work through her issues. Give her time and space." Deanna Renee says, "To all the Trisha fans, she literally said giving you guys advice and giving you a segment on the podcast is stupid. That's what started the fight. Oh, and Ethan interrupting her to give the screw a slice of pizza." Dexter responds to Ethan by saying, "Telling her the crew is highly insulted and refusing to film with her today was everything you could humanly do to save it? Your crew needs to suck it up and be professional. They get to dictate if you shoot a vlog today?" Full of Smiles 2 responds to Dexter by saying, "Because Ethan is a good boss and cares about the feelings of all of his employees? Just because Trisha is an on-camera star doesn't mean his other employees should have to suck it up, lol." Lou responds to H3 by saying, She's self-sabotaging. It's not your fault. She just needs time. I'm sorry. This must be exhausting for everyone involved. Ethan also tweets out, ultimately this is my fault for ordering pizza while dressed as Uncle Fester, obviously referencing the fact that the last time Trisha walked out on him, he was dressed as Uncle Fester and also had pizza. Speaking of Trisha saying she'd leave the podcast previously, Diesel Patches memes it on Twitter by showing her newest video saying she's stepping down from Frenemies, next to her video made 5 months ago saying she will quit Frenemies. T-Spill commented on the situation by saying, if Ethan and Trisha split Frenemies revenue 50-50 and the fees of equipment, studio, crew, props, insurance, etc., Trisha will see their 45% wasn't too bad of a deal after all, not to mention all the work the crew puts in. Basic Bitch says, me manifesting that Trisha and Ethan work it out. Adam says, yikes to the H3H3 crew who work so hard. I feel so terrible for them that a conversation about how hard they really work and if they should be getting the pay they do was allowed to happen in front of them by Ethan and Trisha. Christina Williams says, Trisha Paytas quit Frenemies thanks to the Domino's curse and Uncle Fester curse combination. Zach BLM says, me at Trisha Paytas leaving Frenemies right now. Please say psych. CEO says, Frenemies should be on a separate channel, separate production, because although it's an H3 production, H3 wasn't as successful as it was before the new audience that Trisha brought in. I remember when Frenemies started, and lovers of the H3 podcast were upset that Trisha even got a show and threatened to leave membership. And now Trisha has built Frenemies to one of the biggest podcasts on YouTube. They should have a say. They aren't just talent anymore. Trisha's channel hasn't grown off the back of H3H3. H3H3 has grown this year off the back of Trisha, and that is a fact. The true test would be seeing if the podcast was on a separate channel. How many people would stay and be members of H3? Because I think many people would remove one subscription for the other. That's just my initial thoughts. Haven't seen the episode yet. Catherine says, Trisha quitting Frenemies? What the fuck am I supposed to do on Tuesdays now? Evelyn says, Trisha quitting Frenemies. This is the worst day of my life. I'm hurting bad. Dustin Daly says, I would say Trisha's more than talent at this point, but I also understand H3 is a company. In my opinion, Trisha should be able to make some decisions in regards to filming crew and stuff. Honestly, I hope they can work this out, and I think they will. Erica says, Trisha and Ethan need to ban pizza. Why do they keep eating pizza when they know it makes them fight? Comment Cop tweets out, the time has come, showing that Trisha decided to step down from Frenemies, and the meme tweet Ethan Klein made earlier, saying that Keemstar will be the new host of Frenemies. In response to this suggestion, Keemstar tweeted out, Dear H3H3 Productions, thanks for the offer, but I must decline. I don't want to be a host of your trash podcast. And that's about it for the Twitter discussion so far. So far, Trisha has not said anything there, but she did elaborate further in a pinned comment on her video that says, Hey guys, I see a lot of your comments and you think I'm making a mistake, or being unreasonable. I hear you, and I'm not here to combat that. I'm leaving to ease the tension everywhere. I don't want to be the toxicity in their machine, and I can feel that I am, and it's not good for anyone involved. I'm sorry so many of you are disappointed in me, or that you only became a fan of me again through the show, but I cannot continue. If this makes me look selfish or a brat, so be it. I am grateful for the opportunity, but it is just not good for me mentally anymore, and it could be my own brain attacking me, but for myself, right now, I just need to disengage completely. This is without a doubt the hardest decision I've ever made, and it definitely was the most stressful thing I've been a part of, so it's with a super heavy heart that I cannot continue. I'm so sorry from the bottom of my heart. I don't know what to say or how to convey what I'm going through right now without making things worse, and I'm completely terrible at explaining my emotions and thoughts right now. Again, I'm sorry to disappoint, and that's all I can say. So that's about it for the situation so far. Personally, I think this is only temporary. We know the Frenemies podcast means a lot to Ethan, and judging by this YouTube comment, it means a lot to Trisha too. I can't definitively say who's in the wrong for this conflict. It might be a bit of both, as I see Trisha's concerns as valid, but also this is something that should have been brought up during the conception of the podcast, in order to lay the groundwork and not have these type of issues crop up in the future. But we don't know if this was brought up by Trisha in the past. If it was, I think Ethan should have considered her request and built the podcast from the ground up as a separate entity from H3, or if it wasn't brought up, Trisha should have brought it up at the very beginning, as to not blindside Ethan months into the podcast. But that's just my opinion. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this in the comment section below. Do you think the podcast will get back together? Do you want the podcast to get back together? Or do you just not care? Whatever you have to say, I would love to hear it. But before you leave that comment, if you're not subbed, I'd appreciate if you did, as it helps out the channel a lot, as well as leaving a like. I'd also like to thank my channel members for supporting the channel, in particular Scrubby, who's donated $100 a month. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in another video.